In September of 1981, the Richmond City Commission passed Ordinance 81-23, establishing a tourism commission. It seemed the natural next step with the success of Fort Boonesborough, Whitehall, and of course Bybee Pottery. A tourism commission was established with Chairman Tom Snyder. In 1982, they hired Dan Bennett, former Richmond Register editor, to lead the newly formed tourism department. Later, Dan hired Terry Johnson to be his assistant, and the work began. Offices were set up in the upstairs of the Parks and Recreation building on 2nd Street. Dan and Terry developed our first visitor guide, logo, and started marketing to tour bus companies. They also worked in cooperation with EKU to host events such as the Girls Sweet 16 and the very popular Rider Rally. In 1986, they moved into the first actual visitor center on Keeneland Drive at Exit 90. New hotels were popping up along that exit, such as the La Quinta and Super 8. In 1991, Mayor Ann Durham decided to combine the tourism department with the Main Street department and move the offices to City Hall. At this time, Richmond welcomed its second director, Dawn Lovell. Dawn organized the city of Richmond's first July 4th at Lake Reba. She was instrumental in organizing the Battle of Richmond reenactment at Whitehall with over 8,000 in attendance. She worked with Randy Rosenbaum to produce the first marketing video. Before leaving her position, she and Mayor Durham were able to secure the Kentucky All-A Classic in partnership with EKU. Kelly Higgins was next to take the lead. Along with staff members Marty Miller and Amy Davidson, they worked hand in hand with the City of Richmond, developing new events like the Taste of Richmond, and oversaw the completion of the downtown revitalization. Marty Miller assumed the helm in the late 90s and coordinated the move of the Visitor Center to Irvington. During Marty's tenure, she was able to secure grant funding for Battle of Richmond driving tour, Connections, the African American Heritage Guide, and designed the Historic Homes walking tour. Sherry Grant joined the team as assistant director during this time, working alongside Marty to host the city's bicentennial celebration at Lake Reba. Hampton Inn kicked off a new round of hotel development at Exit 87. Holiday Inn, Comfort Suites, and Quality Inn followed. Lori Murphy Tatum became the fifth and current director in 2005. During this time, the department stepped into the digital age with a new website, social media, and the highly popular Tourism Talk with Samantha Burford. Lori, along with team members Jeannie Rollins, Aaron Stewart, and Jesse Russell, started the Pottery Festival in 2005, later becoming the Great American Festival, which saw thousands of visitors each fall. New events and attractions came to Richmond during this time. The Battle of Richmond Visitor Center opened in 2007, making it one of our top attractions. The World Equestrian Games came to Kentucky in 2010. Richmond was home to all the journalists for this event. The next decade saw the opening of Town Place Suites and True by Hilton. Agritourism also saw an increase in popularity with Baldwin Farms, Deer Run Stables, and River Hill Ranch. Craft spirits came to Richmond with the opening of Dreaming Creek Brewery and the picturesque Chenault Vineyards. In 2016, the Visitor Center moved out of Irvington and into a temporary location on Foxhaven Drive. At this time, the Tourism Commission began their search for a forever home. Miss Mary Lou Salter's home on West Main Street was a perfect fit, and after a lot of hard work from our volunteer contractor, Gerald Tatum, the new office opened its doors in September of 2018. After the retirement of longtime assistant director Jeannie Rollins, David Jones joined the team in 2019. David's love for history and heritage tourism made him a natural fit. During the past 40 years, Richmond Tourism has been the front porch of the Queen City of the Bluegrass, welcoming tourists from far and wide to experience the story of Kentucky.
I began in, I think it was 1985, and I enjoyed going to the tourism board meetings, and I was at the board meeting and they had someone going to resign, and his name was Tom Snyder, that owned McDonald's. I owned Hardee's, and they switched. Since he was leaving, they asked me if I would serve, and I gladly served on the board at that time. The one that I really remember, it was kind of scary, but it was funny also. We were asked to give a proposal to the girls' Sweet 16, and they were thinking about coming back to Richmond at that time. And so we got the proposal together. So Mayor Baker, myself, and Dan Bennett decided we would take it to them, and they could interview, we would interview them and they could us, and talk about what we could offer them at that time. The facilities that we had as far as hotels and things like that. Well, that morning we got up and it was snowing like crazy. So we thought, should we go or shouldn't we go? And we thought, we don't want to miss this opportunity. So Dan Bennett fired up the van that we owned, the tourism board owned, and we took off to, I think it was Shelbyville at that time, and so we slid all the way there and around, and it scared us all to death at times because it was so slick on the interstate going up there. So we got back later that day, pretty late that day, because it took a long time to go up and to come back. But we had that was the funniest story that I know of it since when I was serving on it. It is very important that we have a good commission of tourism. I can remember too when we had the rider rally here, and we had 2,000 or more motorcyclists here in Richmond, and they wanted to go to Fort Boonesboro. So we catered a meal to all of them at Fort Boonesboro, and they really enjoyed that. So there are so many advantages to living in Richmond now, because we have so many more hotels than we did then. We didn't have very many hotels at that time, but now we have one of every kind now, so we're doing pretty good, and I understand that we're going to be getting some more in the future. So we just have to be ready for them when someone wants to come to Richmond.
Well, being from Richmond, I'd obviously always had an interest in what's going on in our community and what's happening, and all of the fun things and events and that sort of thing. So when the opportunity came up for me to come and work in the tourism department, I jumped on it because it felt like something that was a natural fit for me. Tourism in Richmond is it's a lot bigger industry than people realize. That my eyes were open to that, working in the office, just how many visitors we have and the kinds of visitors, the types of people that come through the community and what they're looking to experience while they're here. Working in tourism is so much fun because of the fact that it's just a constant hosting job. You're forever welcoming people and giving them options for fun things to do and ways to experience the community that we all live in and love, for all of its unique qualities. Well, the cast of characters, they're funny in their own right, but together as a mix is what really makes them a good time. When I was in the office, Jeannie was there, and Lori, and Jesse was there, I think, for a short part of that time, and other folks, Joe was in and out, and it was just a constant, mix of fun and hilarious, and also very serious and hardworking, but you got to have fun when you're at work to really appreciate what you do. So it was always a good time. My favorite times were when Lori would take a hair and need to redecorate or move offices for the 47th time because this spot wasn't exactly the one she wanted. And being in the Irvington house at that time presented its own challenges because the 200-year-old building could only handle so much Lori moving and decorating. So it got interesting at times. Bless his heart, poor Doug. I remember several times thinking, yeah, his head's going to pop off. It's literally going to spin around and pop off because Lori wants him to do yet another thing that he's about to die over. So it was always fun. It was always a good time to see what would happen today.
The Kentucky legislature passed some enabling legislation calling for what we now call tourism offices. And as far as I remember, it did not discriminate between cities. All cities could do this. So based on that, and of course the city was happy to get it because in levying a transient tax, you don't really hit the locals. You might every once in a while, but you don't. It normally hits tourists like me when I go to Gettysburg and things like that. I became acquainted because they told me to write an ordinance, a city ordinance aping the state statute, and that's what I did. It's educational. It's almost a freebie economic development because you're bringing in outside money, and it gets a few jobs to people. So I think it's a very good thing. Here again, I don't remember the exact date. Dean Warren Lambert and I wrote a Battle of Richmond car tour. I did the stops and that kind of thing, and he did the narration on the thing. And I understand from our illustrious tourism director that this is one of the most asked for brochures in tourism. And I think it's really helped preservation efforts, it's educational efforts, and it is a long tour. I did one time that was about 8 hours long, time you get in and out of a van and that kind of thing. But, and that's, I guess you might call that recreation, but I don't know. But anyway, it's very important to the city, and it's been a good deal for the city from the word go.
Several years ago, I was a hotel manager in Richmond, and I opened Hampton Inn Hotel when it was brand new and was the general manager, as well as Days Inn. And then I also took over Super 8 and hired all new people and redid that hotel. Well, John Revel was the chairman for several years before me, so I had some big shoes to fill. But we had a lot of fun. We worked at the All A Classic every year. All of the parades we worked on. There was just a lot of things going on in Richmond, and it was growing. But just being on the board and making decisions of things that could happen with the tourism office and different things going on, it was a real fun time to be on the board and to be chairman. I have been in a play, which is really out of character for me. I've helped line people up for parades. We have made sandwiches at the All A Classic. We have gone out in snowstorms for the All A Classic and swept off sidewalks. And seems like when the All A Classic comes, sometimes the weather's bad.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. Back then it was fun, but it was trying to try to answer to a lot of different people. And you did a good job back when Marty was in the over tourism. She did a good job, but everything keeps changing, but it's for the better. Richmond is one of the fastest growing cities in Kentucky, so we're really proud of it.
I started October 2010, and soon after that, Lori went on maternity leave. So it was just Jeannie and I in the office. The Christmas parade was always fun. It was a lot of work, but it was always neat to see everything at the end of the night and to, you know, stand up on the hill and watch all the Christmas lights and the floats. 4th of July was always a lot of work, but also a very fun day. But always the events was always my favorite part. The best story I have of visitors is we had 2 girls come in that were looking for a restaurant. And they named this restaurant, couldn't tell you what the name is now. And I was like, I've never heard of that restaurant before. So we look it up, can't find it. So I just put in the name of the restaurant and Richmond. It was located in Richmond, Virginia. And they took a wrong turn somewhere along the way and ended up in Richmond, Kentucky.
Nice.
Yeah. One year we redid the house. We were at Irvin McDowell at the time. Repainted, different new furniture, everything. And we had this re-grand opening. And that was as soon as hashtags started becoming available. Or not available, but becoming popular. So we came up with the hashtag #MyRichmond. So we called a company to do the food, and we called a company to do the cake for us. Well, they showed up with the cake, and it said hash and then the number sign #MyRichmond. So hashtags weren't real big then. They didn't know exactly what they were doing, but we ate the cake and it was delicious.
So that was early hashtag experience.
Yeah, it was a very early hashtag experience. One day we were trying to find some old files. I'm pretty sure it was for the All A when it came back. And Lori was like, we have these files somewhere. And I was like, well, where are they? So we look on all the computers. And she goes in the closet, storage closet, and she's like, maybe they're on this. And she pulls out a box of floppy disk. And I was like, what? I was like, we don't even have a computer that will accept floppy disk anymore. And she goes, oh no, I got one. And she pulls out of the closet a computer that would take floppy disk. So we had to hook this computer up, put floppy disk in, and figure out what was on this. Lori and Jeannie were both fantastic to work with. It was a great job. I was there for 5.5 years, and it was a great 5.5 years of my life.
The biggest project that we worked on at that time was the bicentennial of Madison County. And so that was obviously something that involved the city of Richmond, the city of Berea, and the county. And it was sort of typical Americana. We had parade, we had festival, we had people doing all kinds of, fun activities throughout the year historically to celebrate our bicentennial. So that was one of the big projects. And then the other thing that, Dan Bennett, who hired me, and I, and the commission at the time tried to do was really just begin to build a brand for Richmond. We didn't really call it that because that wasn't a buzzword back then, but we really tried to sort of, differentiate what Richmond had and how it sort of fit into the history of Kentucky and all the assets that we had.